Cam Coleman will be the first Auburn Tiger to score a touchdown this season.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're dapping it up on this game day eve, 1 day away from Auburn football. We're dapping it up with the Darrell Daprich, Montgomery radio legend himself. We're going to do something fun at the end of the show, something we've never done on this show before. Stay tuned for that, as well as score predictions and what we think is going to happen on Saturday in Auburn's opener against Alabama A&M. But let's go through a list of firsts, some predictions that we will think happen on Saturday. Who scores first? Darrell, Cam Coleman. My prediction is Cam Coleman will be the first Auburn Tiger to score a touchdown this season.
That would be electric, wouldn't it? I mean, that would be exactly
all-time boog.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it would be what the fan base is pining for. It would be with that stadium. It would just be electric, and it would rock. And so that's a good pick. I like that one, but it's probably what the fan favorite would be.
Yeah, I think so. And like, Freeze has to know this, and we've talked about this throughout the week, is like how much of the game plan thinks about fanfare in this. And like, it's not like you would be sacrificing anything. Like, you're going to give targets to Cam Coleman on Saturday regardless. If you're on the 15-yard line going in to score, like, you got to give him a shot, right? Like, you got to give him a shot just to see, one, Cam, are you ready for this? And two, hey, Auburn fans, this is what we got. Buckle up, get ready. I think it's a real option here.
I do too, especially where the ball is going to be. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think where that would happen from. If you're inside the 20, I think that's a definite possibility with a slant or a fade or something like that. And again, it would be rather electric. I happen to think it's going to be a little bit more conventional.
Yeah. And
it's going to be inside the 10, and it's going to be Jarquez Hunter that pops inside the 10 and scores the first touchdown.
Okay. I think that's probably the most likely, right? That our running back is gonna get the first touchdown. I don't think that's a crazy prediction at all. In fact, if FanDuel had the odds set for, most likely to score Auburn's first touchdown of the season, he probably would be the guy with the best odds.
And he may pop. I'm not predicting this later, but he may pop from somewhere else on the field. I mean, he's one of those guys we've seen, like Vanderbilt, boom, gets that seam, and he goes from anywhere on the field. But I can envision, let's see if I'm Nostradamus here. I can envision a play where Coleman catches a pass but steps out at the 5, or, the ball carries him outside at the 5-yard line. So he's out of bounds at the 5. And then the next play, hand it off to Hunter, boom, touchdown Auburn.
I mean, that'd be electric too.
Yeah.
That'd be electric too. Let's go through a few first. So we just did touchdown. Let's also do sack. Who gets the first sack, as well as the first forced turnover, and then also the chunk play. So we'll go a few on defense. The first sack for me, I mean, you kind of went with the most likely option for first guy to score a touchdown with Jarquez.
Right.
I'm going to go with the most likely option for the first sack, and I think that is Jalen McLeod.
If that happens, I think that happens on the first series for Alabama A&M.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Because he's going to be, I think I could see that, 3rd and 5, the quarterback, Brown, who just got named the starting quarterback for Alabama A&M. They went with the Georgia State transfer, drops back to pass, and Jalen McLeod gets him. So that's a great one. And then that would happen like right away on the first series.
I'm fine stapling that prediction together. Jalen McLeod gets a sack within the first 5 offensive plays for Alabama A&M. Sure.
That's awesome.
I'm okay with that. We'll staple those together. That's great. Who gets the first sack for you?
Keyron Crawford. Because what if it's a personnel situation where it's an obvious passing down, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, they substitute and have McLeod and Crawford into the game at the same time, which I think is going to happen in some packages for Durkin. And then I say Crawford gets that sack.
Yeah. And To me, I think how they use the personnel is going to be more, I wasn't going to say interesting, more enlightening than I think the actual flow of the game itself to me, because there's a few options. I mean, they could go as vanilla as possible and just line up those guys and that be it. But if I'm DJ Durkin, which let me stress, I am not a defensive coordinator, but I would think going into this, I'm of the mindset, and you and I talked about this earlier in the week, I would want to put as many different personnel groupings on tape as possible to say, hey, Cal, you've got to worry about all of this week. You've got to worry about every single bit of it. What happens when it's J-Mac and Kieran on the field in 3rd and long? What happens if it's Keldric Falk at the 5 and J-Mac, or if he scoots him in and they walk up a linebacker? I want you to see all the different things we can do with our versatile edge defenders. And then also, guys like Amaris Williams who could do multiple things, and Keldric and, Bleedy moving around. I want you to see everything and have to spend time telling your offensive linemen in your pass protection meeting, hey, you've got to focus on all of these things. So to me, Kieran does do something like that, especially early, and he's the first guy to get a sack for Auburn this year. I hope it's when it's not just, okay, Jalen McLeod's on the sideline taking a breather for a second. I hope they're on the field at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's an interesting take because Auburn in game 2 is not playing a group of 5 or an FCS opponent. They are playing a Power 5 opponent that, again, gave Auburn all they wanted at their home field last year. So there might be
SEC ACC battle.
Yeah. Exactly. We've seen so many of those over the years, right?
No kidding.
So because Cal, with a really dynamic running back coming in and a quarterback that probably has another year under his belt, you do want to give them something to think about and to worry about by putting on tape. This is the one scenario where, from a defensive standpoint, I definitely want them to have to lose sleep the night before they come to Jordan-Hare and say, wow, look at the complexity and the flexibility of these packages that Durkin's running out there.
Yep. All right, so you've got the first touchdown being Jarquez Hunter. I have Cam Coleman. I have the first Auburn player to get a sack is Jalen McLeod, and you have Kieran Crawford. We also disagree on who the first player to get a turnover will be. And if you follow this show at all, the answers are going to surprise you, because you all know I'm about to say Kayin Lee. You guys all know I'm about to say it. I promise you, I'm not going to say it. That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. Can you imagine it being in the afternoon and you're like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do to get more energy inside of me unless I'm swigging a 5 Hour Energy. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. And this is the time of day. There's certain times of day when you're talking about the afternoon, after lunch, getting ready to go home for work. Sometimes you don't want to just come home and collapse. You've got things you got to do when you get to the house. Honey-do list, that kind of thing. So, yes, 5 Hour Energy gets you ready to get through that door and get your second win.
That's what I'm saying. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. And we all love Charlie Five's favorite, the grape flavor.
Makes a great chaser, by the way. Go ahead.
Sure.
It does.
All right.
It does, yes.
So if you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, it gets a 5 Hour Energy product today. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. Darrell, I'm going to be honest. I did this earlier in the week. And yes, I got some grape. I believe the other flavor I got was Tropical Burst when I made my 24-pack.
The hammock flavor.
You think?
Yeah, that's the hammock one. That's the one that comes to mind, a hammock on a beach somewhere.
There we go. Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. So go to 5hourenergy.com today. Use promo code LOCKEDONCFB. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Factor. Darrell, you and I have both ordered Factor meals, and they're delicious. They're delicious. They taste extremely fresh.
I was surprised, just to be fully transparent, how filling they were, because I chose the low calorie option, and sometimes that means smaller portions, but I got 6 or 7 different meals, nice selection. They were more filling than I thought. They really helped me during lunch.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And I don't always love like a grilled chicken, especially when it's reheated like this. And it doesn't taste like it tastes like it was freshly grilled. So highly recommend. They've got 35 different meals every single week. Be sure to crush your goals with Factor. Head to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 and you can use code lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code lockedoncollege50 at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next one while your subscription is active. Darrell Daprich hanging out with us on today's Locked On Auburn. I think the first turnover is not going to be an interception. I think the first turnover will come from pressure. We were just talking about Jalen McLeod, Kieron Crawford, the guy we didn't mention, Keldric Falk. I'm saying Keldric Falk either forces like a strip sack situation or somebody else does, and Keldric's also in the backfield and he falls on it. I'm predicting Keldric Falk will be involved with the first turnover of Auburn's season on Saturday.
I love it. That's a good one. If we expect Auburn to get the kind of pressure, it's one of those underrated turnovers that you don't think about much when you think of a strip sack, a backside strip sack, blindside pressure. So that's a good one. And Falk would be one that could wreak havoc, create some havoc on that. I love it. That's a good one. There's not a bad one so far. I can't. Any of these scenarios we're throwing out there, I could see any of them happening.
Sure.
I really can.
Who's your first turnover?
Kayin Lee with an interception. Yes.
Unbelievable.
I stole it. Kayin Lee is going to pick, and he may take it. He may house it.
I hope he does.
When I predicted that Keontae Scott punt return last year against the Razorbacks.
That's right. You nailed that. You nailed that.
I can see Kayin Lee stepping in front of one of the Alabama A&M receivers and housing it. I absolutely can. But here's my prediction. I'm not saying I'm all far.
I'm cool with that. Anything that's pro Kayin Lee is 100% where I'm at. I love all of that. Yep. I love all of it. So, okay. First turnover, I think Keldric Falk's involved. You think it's Kayin Lee? I'd be fine with either of those. All right, the first chunk play, we're defining a chunk play by a play of 20 or more yards. So the first explosive play for the Auburn Tigers, it could be anybody. I mean, there's so many candidates here. We mentioned Cam Coleman earlier. It could be a running back with, Jarquez Hunter, Jeremiah Cobb, Damari Austin. I'm going tight end here. I'm saying Rivaldo Fairweather. I'll even be specific. I'll say down the seam for the first chunk play, the first explosive play of the season for Auburn.
That's a good one. Down the seam, too. I like that. In between the hashes. You think it's going to go to the house?
No.
Okay.
No, because I think Cam Coleman has the first score.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, but he could score with inside the 10, but your biggest chunk play could be Fairweather on possession 2. Yeah, that's from 50 yards. Okay, so, when you talk about that, when you mentioned Hunter, one of the biggest chunk plays I ever saw was I was calling it for Alabama State, but it was an Alabama State school, Alabama school, a SWAC opponent, and Hunter took it like 80-something yards. I do not think that's going to happen. My prediction is Thorne to KeAndre Lambert-Smith for the big first chunk play.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that 100%. Do you think to KLS, do you think it's a catch and run situation or do you think it's through the air?
I'm seeing slant and by tail.
Yeah, 8-yard route and then just cut it upfield and go.
Yeah, splits the defenders.
That's what we heard about him in that last scrimmage where he was so effective on third down. It sounds like was him catching the ball and him going with it. So I like that prediction too, man. I like that prediction too, which goes back to like what we've talked about with the amount of options at all of these. I mean, there are several good answers to all of these questions of who's going to be the first, where you can make an argument for 4 or 5 guys on all of these. So that's exciting. That's exciting. And it's like, we really don't know what we're going to see tomorrow.
The jet sweep, in my opinion, has the potential to really, really pop for a big play. And there's a variety of guys that can run that now, receivers and running backs, that could make that for a very interesting potential chunk play as well.
Sure. Yeah. Well, who would run the jet sweep in your mind if they were to run that?
You really don't know the answer to that when you ask that question?
I just think you're going out of your way to not say his name, and I'm giving
saying
you
it this time.
Saying it.
Jeremiah Cobb on the jet sweep. Yeah, big chunk play.
You took Kayin Lee from me for first turnover.
Yes,
so
I did.
I thought I'd just continue to give you love. You can say Kayin Lee.
Thank you.
You can say Jeremiah Cobb. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Score prediction. For me, I think Auburn wins this game. I'm going to say 45-10 is my score.
Really close to mine. I'm going 55-10. The last two times Auburn has played Alabama A&M, they won. They were in the 50s. And one of the times was 2012 with one of the worst offenses I've seen Auburn field in a particular calendar year that I've ever seen. Nothing against Jonathan Wallace, but I think he ended up being the quarterback by the during this game. So I think if Auburn can get in the 50s with the 2012, 2016 offenses, I think they definitely can do that with this year's offense.
Yeah, I do think, and once again, like we've talked about throughout the week, what does this coaching staff want to do? Like, what's the objective? Is it to get quality reps to guys, or is it to get the game over and just run the ball? Like, we don't know. We don't know exactly what that looks like. But to me, I'm with you. I think they're going to run it more than the average fan would want. But, man, wouldn't it be awesome? You give Peyton Thorne a bunch of reps to throw it, and then you bring Hank in for a big chunk of the second half and, like, give him real reps. Let him throw the football to Malcolm Simmons and Camden Brown and Bryce Kane, these guys that we're kind of anticipating being that second wave of options. Sam Jackson. I don't know if we see that, though. I don't know if we see that. But if we run a real offense and we let some of these guys that are a little bit inexperienced actually run it, I don't think you score as much by doing that, but I do think you get better as a team if you do that. So, well, it just depends on how they handle it.
Sam Jackson, another jet sweep candidate, especially putting him in motion within the slot. That would be beautiful. I'm looking forward. I keep forgetting about him. I was so high on him when he transferred. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they utilize him. Kind of a Swiss Army knife type situation Saturday. And that's the time to do it. It's interesting, though, because it's Cal the next week. So you put that on tape. Cal may already be aware of what he can do having played at Cal last year. It's not as much of a surprise factor.
Yeah, and we'll talk about him a lot next week. But
55-10, though. That I'm sticking with that.
45-10, you're 55-10.
Yep.
Your first touchdown is Jarquez Hunter. Mine's Cam Coleman. Your first sack prediction is Kieran Crawford. Mine's Jalen McLeod. Your first turnover is Kayin Lee. I think you're right. Mine is Keldric Falk. Your first chunk play or explosive play of 20 yards or more, KLS. Mine's Rivaldo Fairweather. So let us know yours in the comments down below or on social media. Genuinely curious to hear what everyone else has to say. We're going to do something a little bit different in just a moment. It may be fun. It may be great. Y'all may hate it. I don't know. We'll see. That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Darrell, can you imagine ordering a car part from anywhere other than eBay Motors?
No, because I've done it. I mean, so it's hard to imagine something you've already done. Doing something different than you've already done. So
I would rather have a car, truck, or SUV that doesn't have all of its parts, and that part not come from eBay Motors. I would rather it be broken down than have anything that wasn't from eBay Motors. That's just my thoughts on it.
It's really convenient. It's so convenient. It helps for older style and models vehicles as well.
Yeah, because you're just not. If you go into a brick and mortar, you're just not going to have all those. So
good luck finding somebody too.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Hey, check out eBay Motors. They've got the eBay Guaranteed Fit as well to make sure the car part fits your vehicle. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Darrell, today's show is also brought to you by our friends at Home Field Apparel. We love Home Field Apparel. The last few shows that I've recorded, I was actually wearing a shirt from Home Field. Their stuff is super high quality. It's super, super comfortable. And they've got these like season launch boxes that's got multiple shirts for your favorite school, as well as some hats and just some other swag. Yeah, you've ordered multiple things from Home Field as well.
Multiple things from multiple schools. And I love, the biggest thing for me that I love, a lot of it's retro. Throwback stuff with logos that were in years gone by, and I love that. But
because you're so old.
Because I'm so old.
You're ancient.
Why would I not relate to stuff that came out in the 70s and 80s when I came out literally late 60s. So here's the thing, though. What I love more than anything else about the quality of the stuff, it's just, it really, you wash it and wear it. It's really good quality apparel as well.
Right. Yeah. Hey, we've got a promo code for you. I didn't mention this last week. War Eagle 24. That is your promo code. War Eagle 24, all one word, no spaces. War Eagle 24 at homefieldapparel.com. Check them out. Darrell, when you look at this game, we're expecting a lot of different Auburn players that kind of have some explosive stat lines. So we're going to try something. We're each going to play. It's draft season for fantasy football. We're going to try this. We're each going to draft a team of 4 players.
Right.
We'll do snake draft. I'll go first. You'll go second. You'll go third. I'll go fourth. We'll go back and forth. The rules are standard ESPN scoring. So whoever has the best stats wins, and no quarterbacks. So we're just, it's all running backs or wide receiver pass catchers. So I'll go first and I'll go with Cam Coleman. I will take Cam Coleman.
It's a great pick. That's what anybody else would do, really. If you had this fantasy draft, he is the guy that's going to probably give you yards and touchdowns, both, which equate to fantasy points. So I like that pick, and I fully anticipated you doing that going first, so that's why my choice was different.
Okay. What is yours?
KLS. I'm going KeAndre Lambert-Smith as my first pick.
Okay. And then who is your second pick?
Fairweather, Rivaldo Fairweather.
Wow. And then my second pick will be Jarquez Hunter.
Okay.
And then my third one, I'll go to Mari Austin.
All right, then I'm going to go Jeremiah Cobb with my.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
And then
you haven't gotten him yet.
And then my fourth one is Robert Lewis.
That's a good one. We haven't really talked about him. Why don't you think we brought him up for any of the chunk play consideration or the first touchdown consideration? Why do you think that is?
First touchdown more likely than chunk play. I just think of the position that he plays in the slot. I don't think chunk play. When I think outside receivers or running backs that break through the initial containment in a line of scrimmage. But he is definitely one that I could see, inside the 10 out of the slot getting the first touchdown. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And I also think he'll get a lot of yards between the hashes. So he's my fourth player.
Yeah, my fourth one will be Malcolm Simmons. I just think there's some kind of level of explosiveness that we might see, maybe not with the starters, or maybe later when Auburn's up a little bit and they kind of bring in that next battalion of folks to get receptions from Thorne. Yes. All right. So I've got Cam Coleman, Jarquez Hunter, Damari Austin, Malcolm Simmons. You have KLS, Rivaldo Fairweather, Jeremiah Cobb, and Robert Lewis. So let us know which team you guys like more in the comments down below. That'll be fun. And we'll talk some smack back and forth about that too. So I just can't believe the season's finally here, Darrell. And we've talked about so many of these names and how excited we are for all of these players. And it's like we finally get to see these guys in action tomorrow. And to me, I think we get to see these guys start their path to make a statement, because I think this is a motivated team. I think this is a focused team, and I think they're ready to have fun.
I think that this is one of the more anticipated years that I can imagine in a long time. I don't think the coming off COVID, that first year with Harsin in 2021 after Gus got fired, I didn't sense that much anticipation. 2019, I did a little bit when Bo was a freshman. This is, for the first time in a long time, the waiting and just waiting to finally see guys on the field and what they do from a performance level is at a higher level that I can imagine it in a long time. And then you throw in the pageantry, the anticipation of game day, just being there again, and all the things that make it so fun for an Auburn game day experience. When those two mesh, it's why listen, I feel like an 8-year-old getting ready to go to bed with milk and cookies on Christmas Eve. I am so ready. And again, it's all those factors, but the just excitement of let's finally see what these dudes can do with the unknown and some of these players. It's off the charts. I can absolutely not wait.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think the last time there was this much buzz. I was really excited in 2018 because of how 2017 ended, and we brought a lot of guys back, including Stidham.
Right.
But there hasn't been a recent offseason where there's been so much success off the field, where there's just this general feeling of hope and excitement and, like, I guess just vision towards the future where it looks like it's successful. Like, there just hasn't been any kind of level of that. A lot of that has to do with the the level of recruiting and the transfer portal being what it is now in today's version of college football. But it's been fun. And so now we get to see if those things match. And Darrell, like, the sad truth is there's a chance that they don't match this year. There's a chance, like, there's no correlation between how incredible this offseason was on the recruiting trail versus the product that's on the field this year. Now, we do think that Freeze and this staff have done enough to build the roster where they can be competitive this year. But as fans, it's important that we separate those two. But there is a chance that they're both good. They're both solid and both better than they have been in the last 5, 6, 7 years. So there is a real chance of that. And I think that's where the hope is and the excitement is.
I'm not predicting the same outcome, but this reminds me a lot of 2010.
Okay.
2009 was Chiswick's first year. Auburn got competitive again after a horrible 2008.
Yeah.
Went to a bowl. Had it go back and look at the recruiting class Auburn had in 2010 with all the excitement. Of course, the Cam buzz was there, and that's completely different. But this is what I feel like as far as I remember going to that first game in 2010. It was either an Arkansas State or I don't remember who it was, but Auburn came out, took care of business. It feels like that. Not predicting the same type of season, but going into the season, the hype, the excitement, the anticipation feels like that because of some of the things that happened in the offseason.
I'm with you. All right. Yeah. So we'll have you covered. I'm going to go live right after the game is over. And then Sunday morning, it'll be on your audio feed when you wake up. And it'll also be on the video premiere on YouTube at 7 a.m. Central Time Sunday morning. Darrell and I will do the morning after special, reacting to everything. So you'll get a post-game show that's just me right after. And then you'll get one Sunday morning that's going to include Darrell's thoughts as well as some of the stuff that happened in the post-game pressers and things like that. So we will have plenty of post-game content for you this weekend and most weekends this football season. So, Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on DAP 6410. There's an article up on Auburn Daily that I have about what would be considered a successful first opening game. You can follow me on Instagram, Darrell Dapp. And then during the game Saturday, I'll be putting some thoughts and some nugs on the barn as well for people to go to. Maybe quarter by quarter, we'll see. And then I'll do a post-game article as well for Auburn Daily after the game.
Yeah, be sure to check it all out. And yeah, thebarnauburn.com. Go subscribe. It's worth it. Hey, like the video. Please subscribe to us on YouTube or on your audio feed. And we'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.